rebellion toward authority, marriage and family compromise, abuse of authority. There are a lot of reasons that God sends spiritual winter to kill those bugs, but I want you to listen to me. Every time spiritual winter has come into my life, it has killed the bugs in me that would have killed the next harvest. And every time I have made the right response to God, the next thing that happened in my life was increase in greater fruitfulness. It's what happens in us. Is if you're going through a difficult time or winter time has set in your life, your family, your ministry, or whatever, it is never God rejecting you. It is never God judging you, but it is always God looking for a response. Are you going to deal with that fear? Are you going to deal with that fear of man? Are you going to deal with that mistrust of me? Are you going to deal with that self-pity? Are you going to deal with that bitterness? Are you going to deal with that? And to the degree that we will let God have His way in our hearts is to the degree that God can trust us more. Matthew 25, the parable of the talents, it says He gave to each according to their ability. That word means demonstrated capacity. Have I demonstrated to God the capacity to be entrusted with more? And listen, God is not looking for talent. He's looking for character. We all have talent. God is the talent God who made us in our mother's womb. Talent is a dime a dozen. Everybody has it. It's character that produces fruit. In the body of Christ today, talent is a dime a dozen. Character is precious. Like Mike and Kathy Hayes and people like that. And so when spiritual winter sets in, God's just asking for a response. It doesn't have to last very long. It doesn't have to get that cold. All we have to say is, God, I want to deal with any issue you want me to deal with, and I don't want it to get that cold. I don't like cold winters, God. And I don't like long winters. And God says, I don't either, because it takes you out of a fruitful cycle. So let winter have its way, and it'll last a few days or a few weeks, and we'll go on. If you don't, it'll be long and it will be cold, but I will not be denied. Number 2 reason for spiritual winter is it distinguishes the annuals from the perennials. I'm not a horticulturalist, if that's the word you use for that. I'm not that, whatever it is. I cannot tell the difference between an annual and a perennial, maybe except for trees. I know trees are generally annuals, but some people's are. Ours are kind of in question, actually. But there are annuals and perennials. Perennials come back every year. Annuals die at the end of one growing season. And actually the annuals mostly are more attractive than the perennials. They're more flashy. They're more colorful. In the good times, it's hard to tell the difference between the people you can trust and the people that you can't trust. It's hard to tell the difference between people who are going to be there long term and people who aren't going to be there long term. I'm not just talking about bad people. I'm just talking about temporary people. Sometimes they're good people. They're just temporary people. But in some cases, there is an element of insincerity or disloyalty to them. And I can't tell. It's not my business to tell. But it's God's business. And sometimes the reason that a spiritual winter comes is to expose the people in our lives that we are not to trust and are not to put in key positions in our lives. And I don't know. The only thing I know is this. Every time I've gone through a spiritual winter, annuals have been exposed. And in most cases, I never dreamed it would have been them. And in both of my first 2 spiritual winters, I fought to keep them when God was trying to take them, and it almost killed me. These were key people in our lives, people that came up to us and told us that they were for us. And I was a young pastor, very, very insecure, fear-ridden young pastor, and I needed all the help I could get and all the people I could get, and I wanted God to bring a lot of people and take none of them. I just wouldn't give God permission to take any of them, but He took them anyway. And you know, by the way, when you're structuring a garden, you never structure it around the annuals, you structure it around the perennials. The entire framing and architecture of a garden is always of those things that are going to keep coming back. And in a garden, you have a little area where the annuals come and go. You take them in and out, but it doesn't change the structure of the garden. But when you structure something around an annual, you've made a serious mistake. And spiritual winter is how we tell the difference between those people who are going to stay and those people who are going to go. The war in Iraq has done America a great service. We know exactly who our friends are, and we know exactly who our enemies are. We know who we can trust, and we know who we cannot trust. 1 Chronicles 21, it says, it happened in the spring of the year at the times that the kings go out to battle. In the spring of the year. Well, let me make a point, and it's not necessarily the point connected to that verse. You're not ready to go out to battle until winter has shown you who your generals are. You're not ready to go out to battle. And you say, God, I'm ready to take the land. I'm ready to possess the promise. I'm ready to go out and take what I know that you've given me. And God says, well, actually, you got a couple of people around you there. They say they're perennials. They're actually annuals. And they may have been right for all the other seasons. They're not right for this season. And so what God does is He says, let me just have a little situation. I'm just going to send a little situation among you. It's going to kind of chill the air. And some people are going to die that you thought would never die. And let me tell you, every winter season in my life, people have gone. And it's not always bad people. It's not always bad people. Sometimes it's wonderful, precious people who were then, but they're just not now. And wintertime revealed that. But let me say this. In every spiritual winter I've been through, there have been disloyal, difficult people that winter froze them out. They weren't standing at the end of winter. Let me say this. I am now surrounded in ministry after 25 years with a group of people by my side, many. They have been through many winters with me. I know they're perennials. And I have structured every ministry I have around those individuals. And I am not disappointed. And I do not live in fear because I have been through winter with those people. They are my generals. And we're ready to go out to battle because in the spring of the year, whoever's standing with you when spring begins, they are with you. Everybody loves you in summer. Most people still like you in the fall. Oh, but in winter. You know, in the summertime, there's a lot to look at. I mean, it's beautiful outside. There's a lot to look at. In the wintertime, vision is challenged. The future is challenged. It's just one of the basic natures of winter. Summertime, you look at the scenery. What I have found is in the wintertime, I watch people. As a leader of our church, as a leader of our marriage ministry, when spiritual winter comes, I watch people like a hawk. And when people come up to me and tell me that they're my friend and they like me and all that kind of stuff and they're with me, it means a lot to me. I'm just telling you, it really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate everyone that God has brought into my life that is there for the cause. Not for me, but for the cause. But can I tell you something? I've just learned over the years. When people come and they tell me those kinds of things, I chalk it away. And when winter comes, I watch them. I just watch them. Watch them come nearer, go further. Watch them stand, watch them fall. And I have found that character is revealed more in winter than any other season.